Are you ready for new possibilities? Today, we invite you to join us with curiosity as we explore unique and unconventional ways of improving mental health by sharing a collection of stories on Spotlight Features, Finding Inner Peace. In the spirit of respect and truth, we honor and acknowledge that we are filming today on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded Indigenous territories of the Squamish Nation and its people here in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome. I am Zahara Cronquist, a devoted student, practitioner, and facilitator of alternative therapeutic modalities such as meditation, breathwork, and spiritual ceremony. Many of us strive to live with more joy and happiness, but how do we get there? Today, we will look at unique ways that people have explored finding their inner peace and how they have incorporated these discoveries into their daily lives. To begin, I would like to share my personal story of my journey to find inner peace. In the early years of my life, there was a lot of dysregulation at home. My father was struggling with addiction. And unfortunately, when I was 6 years old, his addiction took his life. We as little beings often make up stories to try to piece together the things we don't know. And I told myself a lot of stories about why he had died. I painted him as being wrong and bad. I painted myself as not lovable enough, not good enough for him to get clean or to be a part of my life. There was a lot of pain and grief that I didn't know how to process. I just shut down, and all of that still lived within me. It was like I had buried it deep in my subconscious, deep within myself. I was using alcohol a lot as a way to connect with people. I found that I was shopping a lot. I was always looking for something to stimulate or engage with in order to find some sort of joy external from myself. But it always felt a bit empty. Talking about it in therapy often just felt like it was reinforcing what I already knew about myself. I had had these things happen, they were sad, they were painful, and no amount of talking about it seemed to really help. I can remember the first time I sat down to meditate, and I closed my eyes and thought to myself, am I doing it? Is this it? And I got up and I didn't meditate again for a while because it just felt so odd.
We're going to do a lead shavasana together.
And I was first invited to a yoga class. I can remember lying down on the floor in a room full of adults, feeling like it was the weirdest thing ever. Like, what is all these adults just lying on the floor doing? As the class began and we started to move our bodies, it unlocked this way of being in the moment. My mind felt so much more clear. And then I discovered these practices of more inward workings of the mind and the body. I've explored Reiki, somatic therapies, conscious connected breath work, and ceremonies involving medicines and sound. Conscious connected breathwork is a process of breathing in a rhythmic pattern that alters our state of consciousness. The work with altered states of consciousness allows for a deep dive into ourselves, into our subconscious. What I've discovered in this type of work is that I carried a lot of trauma in my body, and feeling like I had to do things alone, feeling like it wasn't safe to receive support from loved ones. These were just limiting beliefs and stories that I had carried. Now, with the work that I've done, I can be the observer of the stories that are passing through, and I can have compassion for myself that those stories still sometimes exist, but that they aren't the truth that I live in anymore. It shifted myself in a big way. It shifted my mind. It shifted the way I interacted with those around me. And in that, I started to find so much more joy in my life, truly, and more self-acceptance, more self-love. Less of this searching outward for fulfillment. I really started to find fulfillment within. And it's from a really content place rather than a place of searching for some sort of external validation, because I feel really good being me. By no means am I on a path to try to completely eradicate mine or anyone else's suffering. I think that life is about both the light and the dark, the joy and the sorrow. And what I've found with the work that I've done is that I have so much more resiliency. In those darker days or those harder experiences, I wouldn't change it because it's provided me with an emotional capacity and a depth of empathy that I wouldn't trade for the world. Meditation has gained a lot of popularity in recent years, but what exactly is it? The term meditation refers to practices of calming or focusing the mind to enhance overall well-being. Nathan Wilkins, a meditation guide, shares how meditation has impacted his life and the people around him.
Meditation's been an absolute game changer for me. It's something I'm really passionate about sharing it, passionate about practicing it, and helping introduce it into other people's lives. So in my life, I wear many different hats. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a real estate agent. I've actually fought professionally, which you might not be able to tell just by looking at me, but that included lots of boxing and wrestling and really high impact sports. So to sort of balance that out, I incorporated a yoga practice into my weekly training regiment. And as it goes, you overload your plate with things and you start to sort of economize and figure out, I can't do all the things, something's gotta go. I actually decided to cut yoga from my list of things that I do in the run of a week. But the one element of that class that I really missed more than anything was the final 10, 15 minutes. If you've ever done a hot yoga class, you'll be familiar with the term shavasana. It's that cool down period where you're just laying in stillness in a corpse pose on your back with your eyes closed, and there's just nothing happening. And for me, as someone that's actually got a diagnosis for adult ADD, that was something that had such a profound impact. The moment I left the studio after that 10 to 15 minute window of just sitting in silence and stillness, I felt bulletproof. And that peace of mind and that calm and that stillness that I carried with me through the rest of my day, whether it's at home with my family or with clients or in my training, I just knew there was something there. And I decided that if I was gonna stop doing yoga on a regular basis, I owed it to myself to continue on with meditating and finding that stillness and that quiet. I saw so much improvements in the way that I approached my marriage and the way that I approached being a father and the way that I approached being a realtor and someone that my clients could look to for guidance in that process. It's something that's accessible for everybody. It's something that you can find throughout your day. In the morning when you first wake up, it could be on your commute to work. And it's so valuable. I'll sit down and I'll hit that pillow and just find stillness and quiet, and I'll focus on gratitude. I'll focus on love and kindness. I maybe can't say where exactly my life would have gone without meditation, but I can tell you it's changed a lot. I've seen it show up in our household for sure.
The benefits of cold water immersion are mostly anecdotal, but there are case studies of people who claim that it has helped them to alleviate symptoms related to depression. 21-time Guinness World Record holder Wim Hof, also known as the Iceman, believes that he has found the key to health, strength, and happiness in the cold. In our next story, we'll meet Ryan Meeuwissen, who has been experimenting with cold water immersion for the past 7 years. For Ryan, the experience has opened his eyes to more than the cold.
Well, that time of year, winter in the Kootenays, and we're continuing on with the kind of a cold snap here. We're not to the extreme, but we're going to be around -10 here for the next couple of days. The overnight lows around -17, with the wind chill a little bit cooler, so dress for it.
I've always been warm-blooded, I'll say, so I've always been pretty tolerable to the cold. It was just something, I guess, that sporadically, for whatever reason, piqued my interest. I almost treated it like a science experiment. So it's like, hey, get in, just see what happens. I don't know if it's gonna be, if I'm gonna feel great after. I don't know if I'm gonna feel, cold to the bone after, and it's gonna kind of ruin my day. I don't know where my mind's gonna go. I don't know what's gonna be screaming at me from the back of my mind. And so I guess it was just, hey, let's get in here, let's push yourself, challenge yourself, treat it like a workout, get through it, and then see what happens afterwards. When you jump into that cold tub, everything within you is screaming, get out, get out, get out. Because as far as that system is concerned, that's a threat to your life. But on the other side of that, I think that's what makes it so satisfying as well, is because you're consciously overriding that primal system. My mind is more powerful than the discomfort this is giving me. I think the biggest thing that I noticed is it was a constant reminder that life could be a lot worse. We're very lucky to be where we are, live where we are, live in a house. I'm in a room temperature room right now. I got a fridge full of food, I got running water. And I think that deep, freezing cold is that constant reminder. I set the clock for 5 minutes, and then as soon as I'm in there, it's breathing. That's all it is. And I'm not following a specific breathing pattern or anything like that. I'm almost breathing as a distraction. After about 2 minutes, it's definitely not relaxing, but you've settled into the situation a little bit. The alarm goes off, I'll get out, I'll go right into the hot tub. I try to just observe in that moment. It's over, so let's experience what's going on in your body and try to pay attention to it. When I tell people about the cold plunges, generally it's a hard yes or a hard no. Either somebody's very intrigued, very curious about it, they ask all kinds of questions about it, they want to know more, or somebody just hits the red button and says, nope, I know that's not my thing, I'm never going to even think about doing that, you're crazy, see you later.
Breath is always with us, yet we often go most of our day without giving it any thought. Did you know that when we breathe with therapeutic intention, it can unlock an incredible array of benefits? In this next story, we meet an individual who is coaching people coping with the aftermath of trauma to use his breath technique as a tool to clear their bodies of tension, stress, and pain.
I don't wish people to go through the suffering that I went through. I now know there's another way. Breathing, I think, is so often taken for granted, and we neglect to recognize its true power. We breathe 26,000 times a day. And the changes in our breath pattern are caused by neuroplastic changes to our nervous system. If we have a big traumatic experience and we don't fully heal it, we'll stop breathing into a certain space. And if that space doesn't receive breath, it's not getting massaged 26,000 times a day. And so the implications for that are huge. If that happens over a period of time, an organ that is no longer receiving breath will start to stagnate. After that experience, I sunk into a deep depression. I started using alcohol to numb the pain that was still moving within me. And it was a really challenging time of my life. And reflecting back on that, there are so many gifts that come from that. But I remember the low point was standing in the middle of a 4-lane highway and contemplating throwing myself under a bus. And those deep, really dark periods that culminated in thoughts of suicide and getting really close to that made me realize the importance of living in harmony with myself and fully understanding the nervous system and how it functions. And I recognize that it's also totally possible to heal. And I think it's through the last 5 years of my life and my experience that I feel so passionate about sharing this work because I know it saved my life.
And let it go. Good. Belly hot and let it go. So good. Keep doing that.
Growing up in a resort town where you do a lot of extreme sport, you're constantly breaking your body. And I realized that I had a lot of injuries that I needed to heal from. I randomly met Edward at the gas station. Just a random coincidence, one of those things where the universe is just aligning at the right time and puts you together. And we got into a conversation about healing. And yeah, I was just ready to go and heal.
I was filming a documentary in Melbourne, Australia, and it was focusing on the homeless crisis. And I spent 3 weeks living and working with people at risk and in very heavy, very confronting circumstances. And that led me to see a different part of the world that I wasn't able to shake. And it caused a lot of post-traumatic stress on me. And that's what led to my anxiety. And it led to me going and seeking medical attention. And when I wasn't happy and satisfied with the level of service I was getting, that's when a friend had recommended Edward.
So I place my hands on the diaphragms and guide breath in certain ways to help people sense and feel how breath moves through their body. And in doing that, they start to cultivate a greater sense of awareness of themselves and how breath moves within them. They start to breathe and sense and feel into different areas of their body and feel any holding or blockages and any discomfort, and breathe into it, and using breath as a tool for pendulating into spaces of discomfort and then releasing that unprocessed emotion.
That must be it. There we go.
A breath circle is a 2 to 3 hour workshop where we create a safe container for people to come together and share their experiences around anything that might be challenging them in their life, and then guide them on a breath journey. And that is a deep meditative practice.
When I go into a breath circle, I'm hoping to get a lot of inner peace.
I'm really just inviting people to step fully into their own power. I'm not doing the healing, they're healing themselves.
Now I feel like I'm in a really high place, just naturally all the time, able to go back out snowboarding and skiing and snowmobiling and enjoy time with my kids, not feel like I'm in constant pain.
Life is short and we all go through ups and downs. Sometimes it's harder to get over those down periods. And I think that this practice really helps with getting over hurdles that a lot of people think that they can't manage. And it's given me a lot of hope.
The word shaman originates from Siberia and refers to the ceremonial and spiritual leaders of indigenous cultures from around the world. Their intention is to the health of the individual and the community. Monique Morrison has always had a passion for working with people and helping them on their spiritual journey, ever since finding her path and a lifelong friendship with shaman John Wilson.
Within you is everything that you need in order to have an abundant, passionate life that you feel excited to wake up to every single day. And a lot of people look externally for that, and I think that it's important that more people start to look internally. I've always felt my whole life that I wanted to get involved, and I don't know if I've necessarily planned to be in business in this field, but I know that it's always been my passion to work with people and to be able to help them. A big part of that has been my relationship with John.
Monique and I became friends almost instantly 20 years ago. So we hung out together, we did some work together, and basically just had a high level of comfort with each other and respect for each other.
John is also my mentor. He has helped me on my journey to learn more, but it's not just so much about tactical practices, it's really learning to be thoughtful, understanding, and to be able to kind of dig in. For myself, I know that the trauma that I experienced in life and the way that it's shown up as an adult and throughout my experiences, this constant need to be nurtured and to feel safe. And I think that when you go through trauma, you can also lose parts of yourself and parts of your soul, and that's a personal belief. And I think that going through spiritual work helps you to retrieve those parts of yourself, helps you to release those old energies, but also empowers you to understand your own power and the ways that you can show up for yourself. Energy is really vibrations, and we're all made up of different vibrations. And so when using different crystals within my spiritual and metaphysical practices, I can understand what energies they have and what vibrations they have and be able to bring that into my practices when looking for specific emotions or uses, protection, love, and being able to bring those type of energies into it. When it comes to other tools like singing bowls, sage, Palo Santo, those help to neutralize and clear energy, and you can also use them to bring in new energy.
I was saying when the teacher is ready to learn, the student will appear. And the beauty of our friendship is that we teach each other and just share openly, and through that comes personal insight.
I think the biggest wisdom that John's passed on to me is to be unassuming and to ask questions. Because when you automatically think about, why things are the way they are, you can kind of close your mind and your ears off to opportunity. But when you take moments and you ask questions and you can reflect, then that's a lot of times where the growth happens.
What's exciting in watching Monique, or being a part of Monique's life, is how she's excited to take bold steps forward and claim her place in the world in a beautiful way.
I believe that you get the most when you give. And so where I want to go from here is to be able to really help as many people as I can on their journey. And not just specifically people that have gone through trauma, because I think all people can benefit from having more connection with spirit, but definitely if I can be an example to how these practices can help someone, then sharing my story is where I want to be.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that this program has been beneficial in exploring new possibilities as we all take time to slow down, appreciate our health, and find inner peace. If you would like to see more stories like these, follow Shaw Spotlight on social media or check out shawspotlight.ca. Thanks so much for watching. Now, with the work that I've done, I can be the observer of the stories that are passing through, and I can have compassion for myself.
I maybe can't say where exactly my life would have gone without meditation, but I can tell you it's changed a lot.
When you jump into that cold tub, everything within you is screaming.
And if that space doesn't receive breath, it's not getting massaged 26,000 times a day.